Hi everyone! So I'm Gabby, I'm a Brazilian artist, and today we're gonna talk about art. So we're gonna have a conversation about when did art start to matter. And for talking more about that, we need to think about us as a species. Because when did we realize that art mattered and when did we start making art? And that's really interesting because we cannot learn about history. We cannot learn about our history and about everything that happened in our life without having art in that. Because since the beginning of the history, since the beginning of Homo sapiens, we have art, we make art. So let's say in the cave time, um, our life was really chaotic. We would need to hunt, we would need for look for foods, we would need to move all of the time. Even the life being so hard. So it's really hard for you to like make fire, hunt, and it's disease and it's a chaos basically. So totally different from what we have now. We would still find time to make art. We would still find time. And the art wasn't like, oh, let me do this draw because it's cute. It went with the religion. It went with the beliefs that people have. So we have two type of arts that we would find right in the beginning, of the paintings. That one of these is really more religious, and when they would draw like the big animals, the mammoths, because they truly believed that by doing that art in there, they would capture their soul, and so on the next day in their hunt, they would be able to kill that animal, to have that animal for food. And we know that because around those caves, around the areas where they would live, it wasn't found huge bones of those animals. They found like little bones of like little animals of goats and other little animals. So the other one is also kind of religious. They would do rituals and they would drink like teas that would make them see the afterlife. It would be between this world and the other world, and they would, yeah, I was imagining this, but they would try to process that and make that into art and put there exactly how they saw it. So that's like very interesting. And after, we would also start with sculptures. We have the examples from Europe of the Venus of Willendorf, and she is a statue of this size, and she's basically a goddess. Some theorists say that she's a goddess from Gaia, so it's about the idea that she brings with her, and that was like 30,000 years ago. It's like really important because when we put thoughts in that, we make art with the religion, with the politics, like those things always goes together. So we can learn more about how the people used to live and how they would act and what they would believe because of the art. Then we can go like 5,000 years ago, like in Mesopotamia, for example. We see their type of gods, we see their beliefs. They actually would believe in giant people. They would do this. They would make all of those arts and all of those beliefs that we have until today's cultures. We go to the Egypt, we go to the Greek and Romans, all of that, the philosophical, it is so rich, the way they would actually live for that. I used to see like in the past some crazy videos in TikTok, and it was so funny because you know that in the old art in Egypt, you would see like, for example, people this size and other people this size, and I saw people saying that there was like theories of, oh, giants were actually real. And yeah, we know we used to have giants in history, but that's so funny because in Egypt, for example, that who actually studies the history and the art will know that they would just make people in different sizes because of how they were big or small in the society. So you see the gods are gonna be big. The gods are so tall. And then you see a rich person, you see the pharaoh, you see like the king, pharaoh, I don't know how to say this in English. Anyways, you see like the king from Egypt, and they are like smaller than the god, but they're still big. And then you see the servers, you see the farmers, and they're little because they're just showing their artwork what they had, you know, and how their life were, and that's how they would represent. That's why study is so important, you know, so we're not ignorant. So through the art, we can see how they actually used to live. We can see how they would eat, we can see how they would dress, we can know more about the religion, how they would actually act. And it goes like for the architecture as well, how more complex it starts becoming. And this thing I think is so interesting, how I like to see art history, because today I see like as a tree, you know, and you can see from different angles. So I see as a tree, like right in the beginning, everybody would almost do the same thing, you know, and we go from the pre-rock, and it goes like the primitive art, and then ancient art of Egypt, Greek and Roman, and then we have all of the medieval period where we have like the 1,000 years of that the church was in the power after the Roman Empire, let's say, and that was more guided like in Europe, of course, but that was more focused on the religion, on the Christianism, and then it's just go glowing. And of course, this is a occidental visual, because it's not like China wasn't making art as well. You know, all of the other places were making art as well, and of course they kind of go really similar if you actually look about it. We can talk more about that in other videos, but it goes growing. And then after the Renaissance is so like the techniques, everything goes different, and it's so much more technological, and they go growing and growing until you finally have like, okay, now it's like French Revolution. Things are really more different, you know, the art is already amazing, is at the level of techniques that's insane. And then we arrive with Impressionism, and then the tree starts to go. Because after technology, after all of that, we start to having a lot of different arts, you know, because we can be like, oh, hundreds of years doing the same stuff, where they would do that in medieval time, in the Egypt. It was like, oh, 4,000 years of this kingdom, they're doing the same type of art. You see the evolution in that, but it's almost the same. And you don't know who the artists were because they were not valued. No, you don't know that. But then after Renaissance, everything starts to change. And then it goes to the Impressionism, and it changes even more, you know? So why did it change in Renaissance when it just started doing this? Renaissance, it changed because right now the artists are more valued. The scientific facts are facts. They actually started to value studies now, you know? They have crazy ideas now, and that's important. And then after, with communication, how that go growing with Impressionism is in beginning of last century, it just blow, you know? And this is why it's a tree, because now you have all of these different things, because we don't exist without art. There's no period in time where Homo sapiens existed without art. That's a way of expression, and I love to think of the individual human being, you know, let me use me as an example. I love to think as my story with art. Doing my first little draws, which in Portuguese we call garatuja, that the kid literally doesn't know how to hold the pencil. They will hold like this, and they will just do like this, you know? And with the time, they start doing like the drawings of the family, and it's always the same aspect. And this is how I see, for example, the cave art we used to do, like the cave paintings, and we go evolving until we are adults. This is how I see our trajectory to grow, or art grows as well. So it's a beautiful way of construction, you know. If you see the construction of a person, the trajectory of a person, and the trajectory of art, you can appreciate contemporary art. You can see that with better eyes now. You can see the art history as a, like a really truly important thing. You know, you can see art with different eyes. But we only do that when we start to actually study about that, you know? But for us to appreciate more art, for us to understand more, we need to actually try to understand, to learn, to look how was the life of the artist when he painted that. What did the artist try to say with that? What was happening in that country in that time, you know? This is how we can appreciate old art too. And for new art, a lot of people say that contemporary arts don't need a subtitle, they don't need a name, they don't need any kind of explanation, that you should go and experience and take whatever you want. And in some points I agree with that, but since I'm a teacher and I'm a teacher for like, I don't know, 8 years, I am really into education, and I think we should educate people. We cannot just complain that people don't pay attention for art, because people do pay attention for art. We need art, you know? We need art to live. We always did, and we're always gonna do that. And if today you think that art is too crazy these days, art is because we're living these days. We're living crazy days, you know? It's too much wars happening, it's too much crazy stuff happening, and of course our art's gonna reflect on that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you subscribe and give me in the comments suggestions. I'm sorry for my English. I am Brazilian, so obviously I speak Portuguese, but I'm really working on that. So thank you and have a nice day.